Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing the GTA franchise on the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. For performance monitoring, I'll be using Cam, MSI Afterburner, and Fraps. I'll be using those three overlays because some of these games are very old, so the overlay compatibility can vary quite a bit. In some particular games, with some overlays, I just get crashes and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be testing GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, 4, and GTA 5. All the games before GTA 4 will be tested using mods, so the video is more interesting. And if you want a more in-depth look at GTA 4 and 5, just follow the links down in the description. I already have videos on those games, but more in depth. So first of all, I'm testing GTA 3 with the Xbox mod. That means that it's a mod that took the Xbox version of the game and made it as a mod to the PC. So we have better textures, better effects, better animations, all that kind of stuff. That's why the menu looks so weird. It's just a mod taking the Xbox version of the game, and it looks significantly better than the PC version without mods. I also used the unlocked executable. That means that executable has less restrictions we needed in order to use mods on GTA 3. And I'm testing 1080p because if I try to do 1440p or 4K or other resolutions, the game just crashes when I'm trying to just change the resolution, which is a bummer. 4K should be totally fine, but the game just crashes. So if you can bypass the crash, it should be totally fine at 4K. But I recommend capping the game at 60 frames per second. With uncapped frame rates, the game just has many issues with AI, some of the movement of the cars, and many other things. At 60 frames per second, it still happens, but it's less noticeable. But I'm going to talk to you again on the next game.
What you think you're doing? Take him out! Oh, stop!
Now I'm testing GTA Vice City, and the mod I'm using in this one is called Vice Cry 1.8. This is another mod that improves the graphics, but the most noticeable thing is the foliage. It adds a lot of foliage. I think it adds a little too much foliage if you ask me, and I'm doing 1440p because at 4K the game, when I'm very close to foliage, drops below 60 frames per second, but you can do 4K just fine if you don't mind those drops when you're close to foliage. But I recommend capping the game at 60 frames per second this time around, because if not, it will be very inconsistent. You'll be around 60 frames per second in foliage, and then you just turn the camera around and you get 200 frames per second. But if you want to download this mod, just check the link down in the description. But I'm going to talk to you again in the next game.
Blow yourself up!
Suspect on foot. Respond to a 10, 19 North, Washington Beach. Respond to a 10, 71 North, Washington Beach. There is a 10, 21 North, Washington Beach. There is a 10, 21 North, Washington Beach. This is for the 10, 71 North, Washington Beach. Suspect on foot. There is a 10, 21 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1021 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1050 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1071 North Washington Beach. There is a 1021 North Washington Beach. Suspect on foot. Respond to a 1021 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1021 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1071 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1021 North Washington Beach. Respond to a 1019 North Washington Beach. This is what a 1021 North Washington Beach. Suspect on foot. There is a 1071 North Washington Beach. This is what a 1021 North Washington Beach. There is a 1071 North Washington Beach. Suspect on foot.
Now I'm testing GTA San Andreas, and in this one I'm using the downgrader mod, the Ultimate Graphics mod 3.0 and the FXAA mod. So first of all, the downgrader mod, it's just a mod to use an older version of the game, and that's because I'm using the Steam version, and the Steam version is the worst version of GTA San Andreas. So if you use the downgrader, you just go into a previous version that is compatible with all the mods on the internet. So I think it's 100% necessary to have it. And then the Ultimate Graphics mod 3.0 just adds better graphics, better shadows, better draw distances, all that kind of stuff. You can just see that in the video itself. And it also comes with an optional FXAA option, which I enabled to avoid some of the jaggies. But I'm using 1440p, so it's less noticeable. And again, I didn't test 4K here because it drops below 60 frames per second when there's a lot of fire on screen. But you can do 4K just fine if you don't mind dropping below 60 frames per second. So yeah, once again, all the mod links are down in the description if you're interested.
Grove Street, home. At least it was before I fucked everything up.
You want me? Come get it.
Now I'm testing GTA 4, and this is one of the worst PC ports of all time. One of the worst, not the worst. And well, this game doesn't usually take full advantage of our GPUs, that's why I'm using 1440p here. And so far I'm between 45 and 60 frames per second. I went into the middle of the city because that's where the game runs the worst, and just started exploding cars and all that kind of stuff, plus some driving here and there. And so far, if you want a more stable frame rate in this game, you should keep the view distance sliders at the standard options. Just make sure that view distance and detail distance is at the default options, which are 25 and 31. That will mean not so great draw distances, but the game should be more stable than if you put that on 100. You should use the GPU more. So yeah, the game is unstable, but in my opinion it's still playable. It won't be perfect 60 frames per second, but at least you can stay over 45 most of the time. And if you don't like those drops, just cap it at 45 frames per second with RTSS or something like that, and the game should stay around that frame rate most of the time. And I didn't test the expansions called Episodes from Liberty City because that runs very similar to GTA 4, but it has some improvements here and there, so just expect more stability on the expansions, but it's not a huge difference. And I'm going to talk to you again in the next game.
Suspect northbound on assistance required. Triangle. Dispatch came from Westminster.
And finally, GTA 5. I'll be testing 1080p and 1440p. I'll first show you 1080p and then 1440p. We'll be just trying to get 60 frames per second as stable as possible. So what I'll do is just go into the middle of two big streets and start exploding cars here and there. Since there are a lot of explosions, a lot of fire, a lot of cars just trying to escape the place, all that kind of stuff. So expect drops as low as 45 FPS if there are like 10 cars on fire very close together, plus explosions. But most of the time you should be over 60 frames per second without an issue on both resolutions. Just make sure to tweak the game as I did in this video, and it should be totally fine. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Let's see what you got.
Report an attack on a vehicle.